Are you suffering from low back pain, mid back pain, upper back pain? Did you know that back pain is the #1 reason people go to doctors in America? Today, we're going to zero in on just back pain, upper, lower, and middle, and go through a series of the 4 keys to identifying your muscle pain. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Muscle Repair Shop. My name is Butch Phelps, and today I'm joined with my wife, Susan, and we're going to dive into our second video, which is focused on back pain. And we're going to use the 4 keys to identifying your muscle pain. So, Susan, let's get it started.
All right. So, as we mentioned in the first video, the question that Butch usually has for everyone is, where does it hurt? So, my weak point is my low back. Flew off of a horse 20 years ago, and I don't know, maybe trauma with that whole horse thing has cemented that into my muscles in my low back, so it makes it weak. For instance, my friend that got hit by a car the other day while she was walking across an intersection, possibly the continued pain that she has is trauma.
Exactly. So remember what I've said in the previous video, everything you think, feel, and do will affect your muscles. Now, you can have an accident when you were 5, you can have an accident when you were 20, and you might be 60, 70, 80 years old today, and that accident can still create pain in your body because you were never shown how to release the pain emotionally from the muscles.
So this could work into a trauma relief kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Because you are working with the brain.
Yes.
So what I usually tell Butch, I've hurt my low back. It hurts. And his question will be,
where is the pain?
Well, the last time it was low back, and he said, well, what part of your low back? Was it your middle, or was it your right, or your left? Well, I mean right. Yeah. And this time it was on the right.
So that's important to understand, because turn sideways, Susan. So let's start from the physical side of your low back pain in this particular case. So the low back pain is usually caused by the pelvis tilting forward or the pelvis tilting backwards. Now, it does affect the back because the tilting of that pelvis can increase the compression on the lower spine or the lumbar part of the back. But what causes that? So what causes it is that the muscles on the front here of her thighs can be tight, and that'll show up on the right or the left side, or the muscles on her inner thighs can be tight, and that'll show up in the back. And the reason for that is where those muscles attach to the pelvis. The same is true for the mid-back and the upper back. If someone is suffering mid-back pain, many times they have head-forward posture, or they're in a position like at the office where they're head forward. Upper back pain can actually come from the same thing, plus the outside chest muscles can be short, rounding the shoulders in, which again sends the head forward to cause that pain. So that's the physical side of it. You can sit down, Susan. So the emotional side of it, as she was saying, she was thrown off of a horse many years ago. So what happens is that throwing off the horse could have sent these muscles into a spasm on the front of her thighs. And when it does that, every time she starts to stand, the brain then starts to anticipate the pain. And when it does, it tightens the muscles in the hips and tightens the muscles in the low back, trying to prevent the pain. The key to it with the stretch and release technique is that by learning to release a muscle versus just stretching the muscle back out, now you give the brain the opportunity to see that if I allow the muscle to let go in my thigh, it won't kill me. It won't tear something in my body. And many times when you feel pain, especially in the back, we've heard so much talk about the disc, herniated disc, bulging disc, pinched nerves, that we start to believe that that's the true cause of the pain. And yes, you may see it in an MRI, and you may see it in an X-ray, but the real question here is what caused that disc to bulge, herniate, or pinch that nerve, And when you figure that out, that's when you start to see more clarity.
Well, I still have questions about the first question, where does it hurt? So if, like Marianne said, I finally figured out that if it hurts on the right, the tightness is on the left.
And that could be true.
And that is usually the case, but if it hurts up here, then it's the inside.
So,
no, if it hurts in the middle of the back, then it's the inside.
So that's a great question, because again, when you talk about where it hurts, when I say that the muscles on the opposite side, I'm not necessarily talking right to left, although that can be the case, but also front to back. So if it's happening on the right side, this muscle here, these muscles here, can create that pain by tilting the pelvis forward. However, if it's on the left side over here and these are tight, the left hip up around the outside of it can be tight and shift the pain over here also.
Oh, okay. So that's why it shifts over here.
Yes.
I don't really need to know about all the muscles and what they are and how they connect, do I?
That is exactly right. That is a very true statement. What you need to know is not the muscle names and the technical stuff for that, but what you need to know is how the muscles affect the tilting of the pelvis front to back, side to side, because that's where compression in the lower spine begins, as well as the mid back and the upper back.
That's a little more difficult concept, but as you work with Butch and you work with the videos, it'll become easier to understand.
Yes, because when you think about the muscles, the only part of your body that can apply pressure to anything are the muscles. The bones won't move on their own. Nothing else will move on its own without the muscles making the movement. So understanding how it can shift the bones can help you clearly see, or better see, how some of the aches and pains that you have are come about.
So the next question is, when does it hurt, Susan? And I have to think to myself, when does it hurt? Well, all the time. Well, no, not all the time. We talked about that in the first video, that you have to pay attention to when the pain is initiated or initiating.
That's correct. That is correct. So let's go back to the low back. And again, we'll talk about mid and upper as well, but just with the low back. What is a simple test that I say to people is that if you sit for a while and you stand up and the pain increases in your back as she's doing now in the low back, chances are that pain is coming from the front side of the body. However, if when you sit for extended periods of time, your low back starts to hurt and it feels better when you stand up, that pain is coming from the back of the thighs, or what they call the hamstrings back here. Now the same is true for the upper back. If I sit up in a chair and my neck is okay, but if I lay back flat on my back and I try to extend my head back, there's too much pain and behind my neck, then that tells me that the muscles on the front side of my body is causing the pain. But if I sit in a chair for extended periods of time, and the longer I sit, the more the muscles, it starts to hurt back there, then the chances are the muscles on the back side are hard. And again, it's going to come back to the front side because you're balancing your head, but you want to start softening the muscles on the back side first before you get into the stretching.
So it doesn't sound like a hard concept, when does it hurt? But people are so focused, and I'm one of those people, in anticipating the pain that you kind of you lose focus on when it's happening. Your brain is just saying, oh no, oh no, oh no.
Right.
And then you set yourself up for even more pain when you get ready to stand up out of that chair.
Right. Just strictly out of fear. Or sometimes even if you're having a bad day, that will change your posture. If you're angry with somebody, it can change your posture and make that pain even worse.
Right. The next key question is, what were you doing? And sometimes I get admonished for what I'm doing, because what I hear is, don't overdo it, Susan.
Exactly.
I'm leaving. What are you doing today? Oh, I'm going to go out and work in the garden. Don't overdo it. But inevitably,
she does. She does.
do.
And it's like I work on 9, 10 people a day and I come home and there she is. it's not that I don't want to work on her, but it's like at the end of the day, I'm hoping I come home to a wife that isn't pain-free. That's my hope. But unfortunately, like so many of you and us, we tend to want to work through things which can become detrimental.
I do that. In my brain, I'm thinking, oh, I just need to get this done, and oh, I'll be fine. It might be stretching the limit right now, but eventually I find out that, yes, I've stretched the limit.
That's exactly right. I mean, we've all seen it. We've seen people playing sports or playing instruments where they have a band around their forearm or a band around their lower leg, and they just continue trudging on every day, not realizing that they're actually making the problem worse because they're not addressing the true cause of the problem. And so what you were doing before the pain becomes an important factor, because as I can hear you, and what I want you to get is, as you can start to visualize your body moving, is that you can start to see better where the pain is actually coming from. So,
okay. So if I'm weeding,
yeah,
if I'm planting plants,
yes,
I'm typically going to be on a knee pad and sometimes sitting back a little bit like this, but typically I'm supporting myself with one hand while I'm reaching with the other hand.
That's correct.
While I'm reaching with the other hand.
Yes.
And I'm not paying attention to the fact that if I keep doing that motion repetitively, I'm going to be I'm going to get in trouble.
That's exactly right. So number one, as you can see, sitting in this position, probably most of you can't do that, would love to do that. This is a nice way to be able to have your body. However, go back on all fours again. When she's in this position, or you're in this position, you see the muscles here in the hamstrings are literally holding part of the weight of the torso along with her shoulders up here. And then you can see how this is tightening in here to support her as well. So when she stands up, these muscles have to expand. And what happens is that this goes into a spasm and it creates back pain from both sides of her leg. Now, in that all four, as she's reaching out, she's using the muscles up in the upper back area and the shoulders, especially if she's picking up a pot or a plant. And what happens is she overworks the muscles here, causing them to tighten on her. This will cause pain radiating around the spine. And so what happens there is that the muscles on the front side, by lifting things and pulling weeds and so forth, are tightening. And as that happens, it shows up in the neck and the upper back, sometimes down into the mid back. And so what we want to do is be able to talk about how to solve those problems. And in the descriptions down below, I will actually give you some links to the videos to help with those specific areas in your body. So don't worry, you'll get instructions on how to do those particular stretches for the quads in the front, the hamstrings on the back side, and even on the outside of your chest.
All right, so I've shown you, I've identified where the pain's coming from.
Right.
And we've identified what I was doing when the pain started.
And when you have the pain as well.
Right. And so what I have learned over the past is, all right, so common stretches for back pain. There's one that is the bridge, right?
Right.
You're going to lift up. And
yes.
That's supposed to help your back pain.
Yes. So that's a great one to start out with. And this is a common one. I see this a lot. And when a person lifts their hips up like this, the idea, when you look at it logically, seems like, well, I'm stretching out the spine. But go back and think about what I said before. Many times if the pain is on the back side, the cause is over here. So as she is lifting up her hips here, notice to lift up the weight of the hips, she has to contract here, contract in the front of the hip, and also contract in the abdominal and the hips as well.
Right.
Because you are truly lifting a weight at that point. So that then makes it more strength training. And if you're trying to strengthen these muscles, that's a great exercise for doing that. Yes.
And it doesn't really feel that good, but this one feels good.
And
right?
and usually what happens is you grab around. Let me show you. You say here, grab around here. This is another common one. And so you're pulling. What happens here is that you're lifting the weight of both legs in this particular position. And so now see how her shoulders are rounding up? See how her neck, what's happening with her neck? you're actually straining the muscles in the shoulders here to do that, and you're doing a bicep curl on top of it. So your biceps will look great, but you're not going to particularly help the piriformis or the rotating muscles in the hip by doing that. So we have other stretches where it's like the piriformis stretch, and I'll put the link down below for that too, that actually opens up the piriformis without you having to strain your neck and shoulders to do that.
So I've never gone into a doctor's office and gotten injections.
Yes, but a lot of people do.
Right.
Right.
Into the source of the pain.
Or
actually not the source, but into the site of the pain.
Right.
And some people put on back braces.
Yes. So let's talk about that for a minute. So when you think about having an injection to stop pain, what happens is that, think of going to your dentist. The dentist gives you a shot of lidocaine or novocaine in your mouth, and it numbs your mouth, right? So he can do all kinds of things in your mouth, and you never feel what he's doing. The same is true of injections. They go in and they numb the pain. You don't feel it. The mistake is that the patient then feels that they solved the problem, and they go back and overdo it again and cause an even worse injury in some cases. Pain pills will do similar things. You'll take pain pills, yes, it does stop the pain, but understand there's more to do there. Now that the pain is stopped so that your brain can relax, you've got the stretching and release technique like I've been talking to you about to actually correct that problem and solve it.
Yeah, and we're not anti-everything.
No.
We're just pro stretch and release because over the years,
yes,
you had so much success with so many people. Check out the testimonials that he has on his website. You won't believe it.
Well, and that is true. We're not anti other practitioners, but my point is here, and I actually have said to some people, if the pain is bad enough, take a painkiller, but understand you've got more to do. And when you can understand that, then you realize that's just a temporary fix at best. So let's review what we've talked about today. So we've talked about back pain. Where does it hurt? When does it hurt? What were you doing before the pain began? And why has past treatments failed? The idea is that as you ask those questions of yourself and you start to be able to see or visualize what's going on, you'll see where the stretches that I've sent you links down below in the description can help resolve many of your problems. But don't forget, there's also nearly 100 videos on my YouTube channel, The Muscle Repair Shop, and they dive a little deeper into these specific things that we talked about today. You can also sign up for my weekly newsletter, which actually is another review of things that we talked about today and in other videos, so that you get a different perspective in the newsletter.
Some people are visual, some people like to read, different ways to learn things, but everything all comes together
right,
will reinforce, and you will get some relief with the stretch and release program.
And the way to think about this is a mindset shift about muscles. And for most of my new clients, I'll say to them, give me at least 3 visits to help you shift your mindset about what you think you know about muscles. And as you do that, you'll start to see your body improve and not have to work so hard with it. So if you like what we've talked about today, sign up and subscribe to this video, and so you can get notification, because the next one coming up is on neck and shoulders. Make sure you like it, make comments if you would. Questions, comments are perfect. And if you know someone this could help, please share it with them, and hopefully we can help them as well. But for now, see ya.
Bye-bye.